guys, welcome back to another episode of Pretty Suited Podcast, where career meets culture. It's your girl Lauren A, and I missed y'all. Like, it's been a while since I've seen you guys. I've been super busy this past month. Just getting my own career together, bettering myself. It's the end of the year. It's December. And so, at the end of the year, you just reflecting on, what you've accomplished this year. Have you even checked off any of the New Year's resolutions that you had in January? And just, trying to figure out what you're going to do next year. I personally only got about 4 or 5 of my New Year's resolutions checked off, but that's okay. I feel like as long as you're getting a couple of them checked off, then you in good business. You know what I'm saying? It's just about baby steps, progression, right? So, so I've just been busy kind of figuring that piece out, trying to figure out my next move. Outside of me starting this podcast, I personally would like to see my career, my 9 to 5, progress into something that I enjoy on a day-to-day basis. So whether that means incorporating some of my hobbies into it, my likes and interests into it, then so be it. I'm an advocate for letting your work not be work because it's something that you would do for free anyway. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but, I like to educate. I'm an educator. I naturally wanted to help my coworkers out, teach them things and, kind of mentor them and just kind of give the information that I had so that we can all be, great teammates. So I feel like it's important for whatever you do, if you accumulate, a massive amount of knowledge on something or just have experience in doing something, that it's just important for you to pass that information along to your colleagues and to your peers. So I naturally love to do that. I feel like, I have a lot of experiences in corporate and in academia and in healthcare and different work environments. So I would like to be able to kind of pass information along to other people. I enjoy music. I enjoy film. I enjoy, just pop culture. I enjoy lifestyle, wellness, so hence why I'm here doing this podcast, because I like to be able to pass along the knowledge that I have and just, really build a community of people who are like-minded and maybe not so like-minded, but we can come together and like discuss different things. So anyways, I'm going on a tangent, but how are you guys been doing? Check in, have you guys accomplished any of your New Year's resolutions? Have you bought a home? Have you gotten a new apartment? Have you started a new job? Have you, purchased a new vehicle? Have you read a book? Me personally, I said, look, Lauren, before this year is up, you will finish a book, because it's so crazy. I used to read like 3 or 4 books a month. And it's just crazy to me how that has changed over the years. Like it's really been an issue, not for me picking up a book and starting to read it, but to finish it. So I'm like, okay, I have got to start picking up a book, reading it, finishing it, and then picking up another book, reading it, finishing it. Like it has to be an everyday thing for me. So anyways, so this particular episode, let's get right into it. I wanted to get into the concept of everybody talks about being a boss, right? Everybody talks about how, you leaving your 9 to 5 and you being a boss and an entrepreneur. That word entrepreneur is just been so overused. And I can't be the only one who thinks that word entrepreneur is like a trigger word. Like it's some people even equate it to you just not even having a job. You just, trying to pull some hustles together and make something shake. So I personally, while I understand the true meaning of entrepreneurship, I also want to make sure that we aren't just jumping into entrepreneurship without really understanding how to move in that space, right? So this particular topic, I wanted to cover, like, how are we moving in entrepreneurship? Like, how do you become that boss? It's more than just you being good at something. If you do hair, if you do lashes, if you are an accountant, if you do all that, you could be great at these things, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can be a boss in that particular field, and you could be a leader in that particular field, right? You can kick ass in the office, but when it comes to you managing over other people, being flexible, operating in the red and building yourself back up to the black, right? Meaning that if you operating, at a deficit, how do you get back up into, a profit? How does that even happen as a boss, as an entrepreneur? I feel like the first thing when you're stepping out on your own is figuring out how to network. You really can't be a leader without really learning how to talk to people. I've worked with so many different managers or supervisors that were absolutely terrible in talking to people. You know what I'm saying? Like whether they were so demanding, whether they were, rude, whether they, just didn't really know how to get the best out of people. I think that's a skill within itself, and that's a whole episode within itself. However, it's important for you to know how to navigate in rooms. Not only your office, like where you're talking to your coworkers or your direct reports, but you need to know how to talk to customers. Are you cursing people out? Are you just trying to be right? Are you bringing up mute points just to prove that you are the boss? You know what I'm saying? And then when you're also talking to potential partners, you can't just say you need to work with me and let's link up and let's connect. Like that's just not the way to do it. I saw this clip online that pretty much said the same thing I just said when it comes to linking up with different people. Like you have to understand what your expertise is, understand what the customer needs, and understand how you can be a benefit to that person. Just take a quick look at this clip and we'll talk about it.
I've got enough people that I'm connected with, right? But if you ask someone, like there should be some sort of value, like you haven't really, there's no value for me in this connection that we're gonna do, right? So you need to paint a picture of like how you can add a value to somebody, you know what I mean? I get that every day. Not that I'm something special, it's just, I wanna connect. Like we was downstairs last night, he was like, yeah man, what's your number? Like, I'm not gonna give you my number, what is that? Because I don't know you, we haven't built a relationship yet, but there's going to be a lot of people that you want to connect with, but just find out what they need and what the value is, because otherwise it's like you're another person that just wants something from the person, you know what I mean?
So yeah, that's a very good point that he made. I feel like, when you're networking with potential partners or clients and things like that, you don't just want to be another number in their phone. People have enough numbers in their phone. It's all when you go to these networking events and people be like, yeah, take my number down, write my number down, blah, 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 blah. And you never use them. That's just a waste of time and a waste of space in your phone. Okay. And we all know iPhone storage is very limited. So I feel like you have to make sure that you are optimizing your contacts by one, being a resource to them. How can if I walk up to Diddy right now and say, hey, Diddy, I'm a badass graphic designer and I can make your stuff look really good. He's going to be like, okay, I got another one who does the exact same thing you're just saying, So what makes you stand out? What makes him want to give you his number or his contact? Is it your personality? Is it your professionalism? Is it your punctuality? Is it your, response time? Is it your, what is it? So you can't just be another number in somebody's phone. You have to be able to supply a need that they have, but then also stand out in a different kind of way and not be totally obnoxious with it. Be somebody that if somebody ask them if they knew a graphic designer, they will automatically think of you because you've just been such a good asset to their team. You see what I'm saying? I think that's extremely important. And I've learned that over the years too, is like, even if I wasn't, purposefully trying to make a contact with somebody, I always understood that first impressions were everything. And so if you were talking to someone and you were polite and you were knowledgeable about something and then you moved with integrity, you would automatically stand out. You would automatically stand out instead of you just talking a good game, but you are always late. You're not knowledgeable. You don't fix problems. You are just taking up space. They're going to be like, well, why are you here? You talk a good game, but why are you here? You never want to be that person. So I say always make sure that you are on your P's and Q's, because you just never know. And your name should precede a room before you even get there. You know what I'm saying? My dad always taught me that. He was like, your name should precede the room before you get there. And it's important because, I saw that growing up. My dad was extremely popular. Like, he can go in some random casino, random gas station, random room, and he knows somebody in that room. And if he didn't know somebody in that room, he knew somebody who knew somebody in that room. It was always like a 1 degree of separation. You ever heard of a 6 degree separation of Kevin Bacon, where, in some capacity, somebody knew Kevin Bacon? My daddy was like that. He is basically a person who, you know, he was able to have a gift of gab, but he also followed through. And if he couldn't follow through, he knew somebody who could follow through. And I will also say too, don't be a mooch. Like who wants to just deal with somebody who always needs something from them? Let's say if you know Oprah, and every time you go up to Oprah, you need something from her. She's probably not going to feel the same way about you as opposed to someone who can do something for her, or you just had a genuine connection. So it's totally different if you are, let's say, an employee where she doesn't necessarily expect you to be of assistance to her outside of the workplace. But if you wanted to develop close relationships with people, with clients, with coworkers and things like that, you want to be able to offer genuine friendship, because that will go a long way than somebody who just, it was a transactional relationship. You see what I'm saying? Because they would probably be more likely to bend over backwards for somebody who was a genuine friend than somebody who just needed something from them. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to just be a mooch. You don't want to just be somebody who always needs something, because that can be tiresome. And then for a person who has so many resources, let's say if you're Oprah or a Tyler Perry or something like that, and you have so many resources and everybody who's around you wants something from you, then you're going to be like, well, who actually gives a shit about me? Who actually cares about me? And nobody wants to feel like that. Nobody wants to feel used and abused and mooched off of. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if you move with genuine feelings towards someone and, navigate around them with integrity, then child, the sky is the limit. You can pretty much go anywhere, because like the great saying says, it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And I want to throw in another phrase to that, is why you know, right? Because it's not always what you know, it's who you know, but it's also why you know. And then, like the clip says too, like I feel like you want to have some sort of exclusivity about you. You can't just walk up to Jay-Z and be like, hey, Jay, let me get your number. Let me hit you up sometime. He's going to be like, Chaba, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know you from a can of paint. Why would I just give you my number in that capacity? Like, we're not cool. You're not kicking it. You're not a day one. You can't do nothing for me. That's what it's going to be going through his mind. Once you've established employees, once you've established a certain expertise, once you've gained a certain amount of notoriety, you should develop some sort of exclusivity. Meaning that, like I said, you can't just walk up to Jay-Z and ask for his number. You have to probably get in contact with somebody who gets in contact with somebody else, who gets in contact with his assistant, who gets in contact with him. Everybody's energy can't reach you. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody can't have access to your energy, because you can't feed that many people. Nobody's saying you're Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Like, you cannot feed that many people on such a personal level. So you have to be able to vet out and weed out who actually gets your energy. And so you can't always give out your number. You can't always take that meeting. You can't always say yes to that opportunity, because at a certain point, you have to be able to filter out what requires your attention and what doesn't. Now, again, that's not always in the beginning. You have to be able to, be a bit more flexible in the beginning just so that you can develop those networks and those opportunities. But I'm just saying later on, once you develop those things, you kind of want to be a little bit more discerning in what you actually give your energy to. But yeah, I wanted to touch on a topic that I saw by the good Pastor Darius Daniels. He is somebody that I've personally followed or watched on YouTube. I even attended one of his church services before, and he's a very, very good pastor. But he just made a certain point. He happened to be on a podcast or a show called, I think it's called Inside the Vault, where they were speaking about, growing as a boss and what that actually means and how a person changes. So check this clip out and we'll talk about it.
You can't build bigger than you, because at some point, whatever you build is going to come back down to the level of your own development. This is the way I say it. More of anything means more of everything. Got me? To whomsoever much is given, much is required. More of anything means more of everything. So there's some stuff that we want kind of on the front side, not realizing there's stuff that comes with that on the back side. So when you get more influence, you're going to get more haters. You get a promotion, it's going to be more pressure. Right? You get more money, it's going to be bigger. It's more money, it's going to be more problems. Like there's a backside, bro, to every blessing. And so it's your own development and your growth as a person that gives you the shoulders that are big enough to carry what you're trying to build. And some people's dreams are bigger than their shoulders. And so my job, my calling, my assignment is not just to help people with their dream, but to help people with their shoulders, so that you become the kind of person that can do the kind of things that you're dreaming to do.
Yes. I could not have said it better myself. Like, what? If you don't do the work, the personal work, the internal work, whatever you build is going to reflect that. It's going to reflect it. If you are a terrible person, if you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to be resilient during tough times, if you don't know how to, navigate through different rooms that may not be familiar, like all those things reflect the success of your business. We talked about a couple weeks before about quiet quitting and just doing the bare minimum to get by. That's going to be reflective. You may not think that people are watching. You may not think that it's not going to translate in your work, but it is. It is. At the end of the day, they're going to say, okay, this person put this much effort into it, and you can clearly see it in the presentation, versus this person is not putting that much effort to it. And we can see by their punctuality, by their presentation, by the numbers, by the goals that they have accomplished, like all those things. So, and he made such a great point about, to whom is given, much is required. That's in the Bible. Like you have, is it in the Bible? I believe it is. I believe it is. But yeah, so to whom is given, much is required. So like, if you have put these things on your shoulders and became a boss and became a leader and a manager in an organization, director, VP, whatever the case may be, whatever the title, that it doesn't just come lightly. The higher up you go, the more important your decisions are going to be. Like, it's imperative to understand that the CEO of Walmart, the CEO of Amazon, the CEO of all these different places, yeah, they may do less manual work, but the real work, the reason why they get the big bucks is because of the decisions that they make. Them saying, I want this to go out at this time. I want, the operation to change this way. I want, the budget to go here. I want all these things that are supposed to be at the betterment of the company is based off of this person's decisions. So if they take that lightly and they don't perform on that level and make good decisions for the company, it's going to fail. So unfortunately, the person who works at McDonald's, who works the fries, are upset that and there's no shade to them, but they may be upset that they do so much manual labor. The person who is head of marketing for McDonald's, he may not do more physical labor, but he makes bigger decisions for the betterment of the whole franchise. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of, you have to develop that expertise. Now, you could start off in fries and be a graphic designer. You could be a marketing genius. But when you get to that point, you will not necessarily do much work with your hands. But up here, everything is relying on your decisions. So to whom is given, much is required. And unfortunately, if you don't perform on that level to where they see an increase in business, or at least a steady business or on the spreadsheets and all that, then unfortunately you can be let go, because the whole point of this big organization is for them to operate in the black, not in the red. So, and you work in the fries, it's not going to make them operate in the red, but the person who is head of human resources or marketing or operations or accounting or whatever the case may be, that department relies heavily on them operating in the black in order for them to keep their job. That's just how it is. So don't forget that when you're trying to climb up in the ranks. If you're not a person who really cares about making big decisions, or if you're not a person who really wants that responsibility, that is completely okay. Don't get it twisted. That is completely okay for you not to want to have that responsibility. I don't think everybody is supposed to be a boss. I think that's where social media has got us all twisted, is that everybody needs to be the boss. Everybody needs to be the leader. That's not the case. I feel like somebody has got to work the fries. Somebody has got to be the store manager. Somebody has got to do stocking the shelves. That's just what it is. Like, you can't have Walmart and everybody be a store manager. Well, who the fuck is going to work the cash registers? You know what I'm saying? Because we already know that, in order for a whole business to run, you have to have tiers. So if you're not a person who really wants to have the responsibility of being head honcho, then don't do it. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to say no. Be like, you know what? You probably trying to give me the job, but I really don't want that. And you stepping down and being like, let Scott do it or whatever the case may be, or let Sean do it or whatever the case may be, then that's fine. Because at least you understand your motives. You know what I'm saying? I think that takes a real boss too, to understand what they're good at and understand what they're not good at. So I would say, just keep that in mind when you're trying to climb these ranks, because, it's real out here. It's real out here. So now we're going to get into our watch list of the week. Okay. And this week, so I'm scrolling through Netflix, right? Typical Thursday or Friday night, scrolling through Netflix, and I see this documentary with the wildest title, and it's called Pepsi, Where's My Jet? And I'm like, okay, they got me with the title. Like, what we talking about here? And so I read the information, section, where they give you a little synopsis of what the film or show is about. The gist of the story is that a teenager found a loophole in an old Pepsi commercial that came out in the 90s. And, a commercial that basically was like a sweepstakes or some kind of, game where if you got enough points, Pepsi points, then you were to get different prizes, whether it's a jacket, whether it's sunglasses, shades, or at the end, the biggest prize, a hanger jet. So a hanger jet is normally what you see in the military. They do all kind of maneuvers, and they got missiles and all that kind of thing, right? So I'm not, without telling the whole story, because I really want y'all to see this documentary. This documentary was plainly about how a genius marketer gets people to believe something that they can actually do, and how it ties into the sales of that product. We all know the whole point of marketing is, to get people to buy your product, but the genius of it, down to the casting in the commercial, has people to believe that they can do something, and when they do it, they expect results, right? They expect, to be just like that person in the commercial, just like that person in the flyer. You know what I'm saying? And it's the perception of it all that just makes it so, intriguing to me. You know what I'm saying? And it all ties into the conversation of the day that we're having about how companies, work at different levels. And while you have the boss man who approves marketing campaigns, and then you have the person who makes the marketing campaign, who directs it, who comes up with the vision on it, down to who's going to star in it, down to the colors, down to all these things. And then they basically execute the marketing campaign and to the audience. And then the audience is sitting at home looking at the commercial, looking at the Instagram post or whatever the case may be. And they're like, that's either inspiring, I want to do just that, I want to have that, or whatever. And they pretty much buy the product just to be associated with that dream. Isn't that crazy when you think about it like that? Like, we all know when you see Pepsi commercial and you saw Michael Jackson doing his little spin and drinking the Pepsi, you didn't really want that damn Pepsi, but you thought that the Pepsi will lead you to doing a spin just like Michael Jackson, because you was going to be just like him or affiliated with him in some capacity. Like it's just crazy. Same thing with the Jordan shoe. When you saw the Jordan commercials in the 90s, like, your little 5'2" behind wasn't finna dunk on nobody, but that was the perception that they gave you, was like, if you put this Jordan sneaker on, you had some kind of chance to be able to dunk just like MJ. That's the business of good marketing, is to get people to buy your product. And however way you do that, that's the genius of it, because it kind of teeters the line of what's moral and what's immoral. And in the case of this documentary, they said that this person can get this jet if they got this many points, but in their mind, they're like, you ain't finna really get no jet. Like, come on now. We're not finna be giving out military planes to nobody. But in this person's mind, he like, that's not what you said. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to be up here in a jet. Like, I'm trying to be out here, zip, zipping. Like, what we doing? You know what I'm saying? So I think that is just something that you definitely need to check out, because it gives you insight as to how marketers think, how bosses think, and how the consumer thinks when they're purchasing a product. So check that out. It is on Netflix. It is called Pepsi, Where's My Jet? It's funny when you think about it, and it's a really good watch. Now for our tune of the week. This week we're talking about the absolute legend, Nasir Jones, with his fine ass. Nasir Jones, he came out with an album a few weeks ago titled King's Disease 3. And if you're a real hip hop head, or if you just like boom bap rap, like, you understand that Nas is just one of the greats. Nothing can be disputed about that. He's been out since like 91 with his first album, Illmatic, which is revered as one of the greatest albums of all time, if not the greatest album of all time, hip hop album of all time. So it's just, he's cemented. It is what it is. However, he has been pretty much putting out a lot of music these past few years, and he has been collaborating with the top producer Hit Boy with these 3 albums called King's Disease. But the latest one, King's Disease 3, just came out, and it featured a song called Legit. And in this song, they pretty much sampled one of the greatest movies of all time, The Five Heartbeats. And the song Is There a House that they did during one of their performances in the movie. Eddie Kane, he was singing, he was singing, right? Is there a heart? Is there a heart in the house tonight? Stand up, stand up. And everybody knows this part of the movie, but it's absolutely hilarious, and it's one of the best scenes of the movie. I think the original song is either by the Temptations or the OJs or somebody like that. Don't kill me now, but I think that is the original was by one of them. Either way, Eddie Kane did his thing on that one, right? So in the song Legit by Nas, he sampled, that scene and he's rapping over it. And let me tell you, he just flowing. He is flowing over this sample. The production of it is very modern, but very giving very 95 New York at the same time. I just love it. I love how those two were able to really come together and make good music. So kudos to Nas. Go get that record, go get that album, stream it because it is definitely a hit. But I also wanted to say that we talk about, again, boss moves, legends, okay? A lot of times people can discredit them for the works that they did prior to because it's not quote unquote relevant or current. And there was been talks back and forth about 21 Savage saying that Nas wasn't relevant today, and they squashed it. He said that wasn't what he was trying to say, and we all know that Nas is relevant. They even made a song together this past week, so that's not the point. The point is though that unfortunately, when you open the door for a lot of things, your work can sometimes be forgotten or not credited because it's been so long, or because new generations have come in, or because they may have changed things up and they don't do it the same way, so they just say, oh, that's the old way and we're in a new thing and this is better. And that can just become a bit counterproductive for the whole culture, I would say, because you have to understand what your leaders have done, right? And that's with anything. When it comes to writing, you have to understand what Toni Morrison has done for Octavia Butler. You have to understand what Nas has done for NBA Youngboy. You have to understand what Spike Lee has done for Tiana Taylor. Like, you have to just be able to see the influences, may not directly, but the influences that people before you have contributed to what is now. We always have to pay homage and respect to those that came before us, because they have opened doors, in order for us to stand in this space, and we will open doors for those who come after us to stand in this space. I just wanted to put that out there because, we can get so caught up in the stuff we got going on today that we don't look to our past, and we can end up making the same mistakes that they've made. Like, how are we going to age in that? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure when 21 Savage gets to be Nas' age, he doesn't ever want to be deemed as irrelevant. He doesn't want to be deemed as not important, because you want to age in your passion. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not actively rapping or singing or writing or whatever when you're 56 years old, you still want to do something in that space. You still want to do things that make you happy, and you don't want ageism to kind of kick you out of that field, because you don't want people to think, oh, they're 50 or they're 60, they can't do it anymore. That's just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be mindful of that. You're going to get to that age too. Everybody deserves to have their chance. Everybody deserves to do things that they enjoy doing and not be, judged on it based on their age, race, sex, or whatever. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I just wanted to say that I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, to, pass it along. Let me know what you guys think. And let me know some of your guys' New Year's resolutions. Like, what y'all plan to be doing. Like, I'm nosy. Let me know. And final thought of the day is, I saw this quote and I just thought that it was just absolutely, like, you know what I'm saying? I thought this quote was just everything. It's by Michael Basie Johnson. And it says, a fool tries to outshine the sun, but the wise stand closer to the sun and learns the art of shining. Until next time, guys. Bye.